Hey there, I'm Jessica, and this is Bookshelf to Big Screen. Today, I'm talking about the book Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer and the 2011 movie adaptation. Real quick, if you want to avoid any spoilers, watch for this. I'll have it up during any revealing parts, and in the event you want to wait and read or watch for yourself, you can just skip forward until it's gone. Okay, so the story is about a boy named Oskar Schell and how he's dealing with the loss of his father, Thomas, who was in the World Trade Center on 9/11. About a year after his father's passing, Oskar finds a mysterious key in his dad's possessions, and he goes on a quest to find what the key opens. The movie begins with the funeral, where Oskar is upset by the fact that the coffin is empty. We see flashbacks of him and his dad. His dad told him a story about a sixth borough that used to exist in New York, and then gives him a reconnaissance expedition to find artifacts from the sixth borough in Central Park. Oskar finds his grandfather's camera and asks Thomas about him. Thomas says he never met him and he only knows that he was from Germany and went through some bad stuff and decided he wasn't up to having a family. The book is mostly told from Oskar's perspective, but a few chapters are told from his grandmother's perspective through letters that she writes to Oskar, and from his grandfather's perspective through letters that he writes to his son. Oskar doesn't really seem to be as upset about the fact that the coffin is empty, but he mentions at the beginning of the book that he digs up the coffin with the renter, who we later find out is his grandfather. It's not until nearly the end of the book that we find out what exactly he means by that. Also, the expedition to find artifacts in Central Park and the story about the sixth borough were not combined the way that they were in the movie. In the movie, the story is taking place 1 year after 9/11. Oskar goes into his dad's closet and accidentally breaks a vase. He finds a small envelope with a key inside. He goes to a locksmith to try and find out more about the key, and the locksmith is the one who notices the word black is written on the envelope, suggesting it might be a person who knows about the key. In the book, when Oskar finds the key, he takes it without the envelope to the locksmith. Later, he goes back through the garbage can where he put the broken vase to look for more clues. This is when he sees the word black on the envelope. He goes to an art supply store to speak with the manager, thinking that she must be an expert on color. The manager is the person who suggests the word black probably refers to a person because it's written in red ink. She shows him the test pads in the store so he can see that people usually write the word of the color that they're using. While Oskar is looking at these test pads, he found his dad's name, Thomas Schell, written on every test pad in the store. He was thrilled, but also confused because his dad never bought art supplies, and the manager said they couldn't have been there that long. In the movie, Oskar spends his weekends by looking up every person in New York with the last name Black and asking them if they knew about his dad and the key. The first person he visits is Abby Black. She's right in the middle of dealing with her husband moving out, but she ends up letting Oskar inside. She doesn't know his dad, but she does talk to Oskar for a bit and lets him take her picture. Oskar starts taking pictures of everyone he meets and putting them in his books with notes after this. In the book, Abby is the second person he visits. The first person is a man who never answers the door. Otherwise, this interaction is mostly the same. Throughout the movie, we see Oskar hiding in a little cabinet where he's got a shrine of his dad. On 9/11, when Oskar got home, his dad called. Oskar couldn't bring himself to answer the phone, and his dad left 6 messages. When his mom came home and asked, Oskar told her that his dad didn't call or leave any messages. That night, he snuck out and bought a new answering machine to hide the old one from his mom, trying to protect her. He keeps the answering machine with his dad's messages in the cabinet and seems to listen to the messages regularly. He also seems to self-harm regularly by pinching his stomach and making bruises. In the book, Oskar replaces the answering machine immediately before anyone else gets home. He keeps it hidden in his closet, and after going to the art store, he takes it out and listens to the messages for the first time since he had originally heard them. Throughout the story, he also regularly talks about giving himself bruises. Oskar's grandmother lives across the street. She and Oskar use walkie-talkies to talk at night. In the movie, one night when he calls, she doesn't answer, but someone flashes the lights in the apartment, and Oskar goes over. The man his grandmother calls the renter is there. He doesn't speak, but communicates with Oskar by writing in a small notebook. Oskar tells the renter all about his family, the key, the people that he's met so far, and he shows the renter his bruises. The renter says he's going to bed and not to tell his granny that they met, but just before Oskar leaves, the renter offers to go with Oskar on his key mission. While Oskar is spending time with the renter, he finds similarities between the renter and his father. One day, the renter tells him about his past, how his parents were killed in a bomb raid when he was a child in Germany, and how he got married after the war and had a child, but he was too afraid to be a father. After some time, Oskar shows the renter the answering machine. He begins to play his dad's messages, but the renter stops him before he can play the last message and leaves, saying he's done searching. That night, Oskar sees him leaving and tells him that he always knew he was his grandfather. In the book, Oskar comes across Mr. Black, who lives on the floor above him in his building. He's a pretty interesting character, and he is the one who ends up helping Oskar in his search. They search together for 6.5 months until one day when Mr. Black abruptly says he's finished. Oskar is upset about this and goes over to his grandma's, but she's not there. This is when he first meets the renter. Oskar immediately sees similarities between his dad and the renter. They're both named Thomas, and they have a gap in their front teeth. Oskar tells the renter his whole story and about his search, and when he's finished, he runs across the street and comes back with the answering machine. Oskar plays the first 5 messages for the renter, and then the renter plays them a second time, but Oskar stops the machine before the 6th message. When Oskar leaves, the renter comes after him, telling him that he can throw pebbles at the window if he ever needs him. In the movie, after his grandfather leaves, Oskar realizes there's a phone number on a news clipping he found in his father's things. He calls the number, and Abby Black answers. Oskar goes to Abby's house, and she drives him to the office of her ex-husband, William. When Oskar meets William, William tells Oskar that his dad had died, and when he finally reads the final letter he wrote, it said that he left him something in the safe deposit box and the key was in the blue vase. But he realized he didn't have the key anymore because he had sold all his father's things in an estate sale. That was where Oskar's dad had bought the vase. So they both realized that Oskar's key belongs to William. Oskar tells William about his dad and the phone messages, and for the first time ever, confides in someone what the 6th message said. In the book, after 8 months of searching, one day Oskar presses play on the new answering machine. There's a message from Abby Black from just after he had left her apartment at the very beginning of his search. In the message, she says that she wasn't completely honest with him and asks him to call her back, but the message is cut off. Oskar goes to Abby's house and she tells him how her husband was looking for the key, but she wanted to hurt him, which is why she hadn't said anything at the time Oskar went to visit her. Oskar asks why the message was cut off, and Abby tells him that his mother had picked up. Abby says that she explained everything about the key and the search to his mother, and this is when Oskar realizes that his mother has known what he was up to all this time. This is the reason She's never asked where he was going or why sometimes the people he visited knew things about him that he hadn't shared yet. Oskar goes alone to see William, but their encounter is mostly the same here. In the movie, after Oskar meets William, he starts destroying everything related to the search. This is when his mom tells him that she had found his things and figured it all out, that she had gone ahead to visit all the people before he did to let them know what he was doing and that he'd be coming to see them. In the end, Oskar writes letters to all the people he had visited, thanking them. He also writes to his grandfather, asking him to come home, and he goes back to the park and finally solves his last reconnaissance expedition. In the book, after Oskar meets William, he tells the renter it's time for them to dig up his dad's coffin. He wants to fill it with something, but he's not sure what. The renter has the solution. They'll fill it with all the letters he's ever written but never sent to his son. Oskar says he should have realized that the renter was his grandfather, but he didn't at the time. He doesn't write to all the people that he visited, but throughout the book, he sends several letters to famous people that he admires. One of these people is Stephen Hawking. At the end, Stephen Hawking actually writes back. I think both the book and movie do a wonderful job telling a very touching story about dealing with grief. I think I enjoyed the book more on this one because of the additional stories shared by the grandparents and their past histories. It made this book really heavy, for me at least, and I had to take breaks and read something lighter before I could finish it. I think the grandparent stories served as a reminder that war and loss and loneliness are reoccurring, and I really felt it. So, for those reasons, the book came out on top for me. Well, that's my recap on Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer and the 2011 movie adaptation. What did you like or dislike about this book or movie? Let me know in the comments. I've included links to both the book and movie in the description below so that you can check them out too. If you enjoyed this recap, please click like, and be sure to click subscribe to see my next video. Thanks for watching.